Elliot ran along the narrow cliff path, his heart hammering in his chest. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, leaving the world in a gray twilight that made shadows dance across jagged rocks. He could hear the wind screaming through the gaps in the cliffs, but there was another sound, soft at first, almost drowned out by the gale. A cry. High-pitched, sharp, and full of fear. He froze. The sound was like nothing he had ever heard before. Not a bird. Not an animal. It was crying. Something alive, something small, desperate. His first thought was to turn back, to run for safety, but curiosity, and a strange pull in his chest, kept him rooted. "Who's there?" he called out, trying to make his voice steady. The wind snatched his words away, but the cries grew louder. He squinted into the gloom and spotted a tiny figure curled against a rock, shivering. It was small, no bigger than a dog, with scales glinting faintly even in the dim light. Its eyes glowed amber, wide with terror. Without thinking, Elliot climbed down the rocks, each step precarious. Loose stones slid beneath his boots, and he nearly lost his balance more than once. The creature flinched every time he moved closer, but it did not run. He reached the base of the cliff and crouched, speaking in a soft, soothing voice. "I won't hurt you," he said. The creature tilted its head, tilting its glowing eyes toward him. There was intelligence there, something ancient, as if it recognized him without knowing why. A strange warmth ran through Elliot's chest, a pull he could not explain. Suddenly the ground beneath him trembled. A rockslide thundered down the cliff, loose stones tumbling dangerously close. Elliot reacted instantly. He lunged forward, scooping the tiny creature into his arms just as a massive boulder struck where it had been lying seconds before. His heart slammed against his ribs, adrenaline burning in his veins. The hatchling, he realized it must be a hatchling, quivered in his arms, wings flickering weakly. Smoke rose in thin curls from its back, stinging his nose. He had no idea what it was, where it had come from, or why it was here. And yet, he felt a responsibility he could not deny. Someone, or something, had abandoned it, and he was the only one there to help. Elliot backed away from the cliff face, looking for a safer place to set it down. His eyes caught on a hollow in the rock, a small cave barely big enough for both of them. He moved toward it, but the hatchling hissed, a sound that was part fear, part warning. Elliot froze. Its wings twitched, and with a sudden, startling motion, it leapt from his arms, not to escape but to cling to his shoulder. Its tiny claws dug gently, and its gaze locked onto his. Something about that stare made his stomach twist. There was fear, yes, but also a strange trust. The hatchling knew he would protect it even before he understood why. Elliot swallowed hard and whispered, "Okay, we'll be okay. I promise." The first faint stars appeared overhead, but the sky itself seemed off. Colors shimmered where they shouldn't, streaks of blue and green rippling across the horizon. The hatchling shivered again, and then something impossible happened. Its small body glowed faintly, and the ripples in the sky seemed to respond, bending and stretching as if reaching for the creature. Elliot stumbled backward, shielding his eyes from the glow, heart racing. What are you?" he breathed. His voice was lost in the wind, but the hatchling nuzzled his neck as if it understood. There was no sound from the sky now, only a pulsing energy that made the hairs on his arms stand on end. Elliot realized with a shock that he was holding something far more than a frightened animal. This was extraordinary, dangerous, and alone it had nowhere to run. A sudden crack split the air. A piece of cliff overhead broke free, tumbling toward them. Elliot shouted, diving forward and rolling, the hatchling clutched tightly against him. Dust and stone rained down, leaving him coughing and sputtering. When he looked up, the hollow they had aimed for was blocked by rubble. Panic surged. He glanced down at the hatchling. Its tiny chest heaved, its glowing eyes locked on him. Elliot felt a surge of determination. He couldn't leave it, couldn't let fear win. He scanned the cliffside desperately, spotting a narrow ledge that might lead them away from danger. His mind raced. Every step had to be precise. One mistake could send both of them plummeting. Elliot gritted his teeth. "Hold on," he whispered. "I've got you." He lifted the hatchling closer to his chest and began the treacherous climb along the ledge. Each foothold tested his balance, each loose stone a threat, but he moved with careful speed, his focus absolute. The creature shifted against him, wings brushing his face, smoke curling up into the twilight air. Just as he reached the end of the ledge, the hatchling let out a sharp cry, louder than before. Elliot froze. The sky above pulsed again, brighter this time, the stars seeming to tremble. A strange energy prickled at his skin, like static in the air. The hatchling's glow flared, and for a heartbeat, Elliot saw shapes moving in the shadows above. Shapes he could not explain. His stomach dropped. Something was coming and it was heading straight for them. Elliot tightened his grip, heart pounding. "I don't know what you are," he muttered, voice trembling, "but we're going to face it, together." And then, with a sudden roar that shook the cliffs and made the wind scream louder than ever, the hatchling opened its tiny wings fully, and the sky answered. Elliot held the hatchling tight, heart racing as the strange shapes moved above the cliffs. The wind whipped his hair across his face and his mind spun, trying to figure out what he was seeing. The shadows weren't birds, they were sharp, metallic and precise, moving with intent. He realized with a sick twist in his stomach that they were drones. Alien drones, unlike anything he'd ever seen in the colony's decaying records. He scanned the cliffside, searching for a place to hide. The ledge ended in a narrow crevice, barely wide enough for him and the hatchling. Sweat stung his eyes as he crawled into it, dragging the creature with him. Its tiny claws dug into his shirt, and its glowing amber eyes tracked the drones with uncanny intelligence, as if it understood their movements. The drones hovered, circling, scanning. Elliot's stomach tightened. If they discovered him, the hatchling, and possibly the entire colony, would be in danger. He swallowed hard, forcing his fear down. He needed a plan. "Okay," he muttered under his breath. Think. The hatchling stirred against him, nuzzling his neck. Elliot felt a wave of warmth. The creature was frightened, yes, but it trusted him. That trust gave him a spark of courage. He had to protect it, somehow. He peeked from the crevice. The drones were small but heavily armored, their sensors glowing red in the twilight. They scanned systematically, moving closer to the cliffside, nearer to his hiding spot. Elliot's mind raced. He noticed a loose boulder above the crevice. If he could dislodge it at the right moment, it might crash down on the drones, giving them a chance to escape. But if he miscalculated? He exhaled, steadying his shaking hands. He nudged the boulder carefully with a stick he found nearby, feeling the precarious weight shift. The drones were now almost overhead. Elliot's pulse pounded in his ears. He whispered, "Just a little more." The boulder slipped. It tumbled down, striking the edge of the cliff near the drones. Sparks flew as it hit one of the machines, short-circuiting its sensors. The drones buzzed and spun erratically, a small victory. Elliot seized the moment, dragging the hatchling along the ledge to a larger cavity in the rock wall, a hidden cave where they could breathe. Inside, the hatchling curled against his chest, smoke curling faintly from its wings. Elliot could feel its heartbeat, rapid and erratic. He whispered softly, "You're safe, for now." For the first time since the chase began, he allowed himself a small smile. A tiny payoff, a reminder that even in the chaos he could make a difference. The cave was dark, but Elliot's eyes adjusted. He noticed strange markings on the walls, etched long ago, almost glowing faintly in the hatchling's light. Symbols he didn't recognize but somehow familiar. A shiver ran down his spine. What was this place? How had the hatchling ended up here, alone, in the middle of nowhere? The hatchling twitched, raising its head. Elliot followed its gaze. Through the cave's narrow entrance he could see the sky again. The drones were still circling, but now they had company. Larger silhouettes moved behind them, bigger, sleeker, and faster. Elliot's stomach sank. He didn't know what they were, but the intelligence behind them was clear. They were hunting the hatchling. He pressed himself closer to the cave wall, thinking fast. If the hatchling had survived alone until now, maybe it had ways of defending itself, but Elliot didn't know them yet. His fingers brushed over its small wings. The creature shivered under his touch, and then something strange happened. Its glow intensified, brighter than before. The walls of the cave trembled slightly. Elliot's breath caught in his throat. "What are you?" he whispered. The hatchling's glow pulsed in response, almost like it was trying to communicate. Sparks of energy arced briefly from its wings, and Elliot realized this creature was far more powerful than it appeared. He tightened his grip, heart racing. Whatever it was, it depended on him now and he couldn't fail. A sudden rumble shook the cave. Loose stones fell from the ceiling. Elliot instinctively shielded the hatchling, rolling to one side. When he looked up, the narrow entrance was partially blocked by debris from the cliff above. He was trapped, at least temporarily. Panic surged, but he forced it down. He had faced danger before, fallen rocks, collapsing structures, but this was different. This was alive, dangerous, and it was his responsibility. He took a deep breath. If he stayed passive, the drones would find another way in. He needed a plan. Scanning the cave, he noticed a faint crack in the wall, a narrow tunnel leading deeper into the rock. It was tight but passable. He could move the hatchling through it, hide them both until night fully fell, then try to find safety. Elliot turned to the hatchling. Its eyes locked onto his. A tiny hiss escaped its throat, not threatening but urgent, almost as if it agreed with his plan. Elliot swallowed, nodding. Okay, he said softly. We're doing this together. He scooped it into his arms and crawled toward the tunnel. The ground beneath him was uneven, sharp rocks cutting through his clothes and skin. The hatchling clung tightly, its small body glowing faintly, lighting the way. As they moved, Elliot could hear the drones above, scanning, searching. Every step was a gamble. Suddenly, a burst of light streaked across the cave entrance. Elliot froze. One of the drones had fired a sensor beam directly at them. The hatchling's glow flared brightly in response, and the light refracted across the cave walls, creating strange, twisting shadows. Elliot's mind raced. The creature was reacting to danger, and somehow, it was powerful enough to interfere with the drones. A thrill ran through him, tempered by fear. This was more than survival now. It was a partnership, a test of trust and courage. And Elliot realized, with a mixture of awe and dread, that he was not just protecting the hatchling was changing everything around them. The tunnel narrowed sharply. Elliot had to squeeze through, the hatchling's wings brushing his face. A loud crack echoed from behind them. He didn't dare look back. Whatever the drones were planning, it was coming closer. He clenched his teeth and pushed forward, gripping the hatchling tightly. As they disappeared into the darkness, a sudden, low rumble rolled through the cliffs. Elliot felt it in his chest. The sky above shimmered again, unnatural colors rippling like liquid metal. He had no idea what the hatchling could do, or what they were about to face, but he knew one thing: nothing would ever be the same. And then, from deep within the tunnel, the hatchling let out a sharp, urgent cry, a call that seemed to echo far beyond the cliffs, stirring something unseen in the skies above. Elliot's eyes widened. Something was coming. Something far bigger than the drones. Elliot crawled deeper into the narrow tunnel, every step a struggle against jagged rocks that cut his hands and scraped his knees. The hatchling clung to his chest, its tiny claws digging gently into his shirt. Its glow pulsed faintly, a steady rhythm that seemed to echo his own racing heartbeat. The farther they moved, the more Elliot realized that the creature was not just alive, it was aware. Thinking, sensing, responding. The tunnel curved sharply, opening into a small chamber hidden deep in the cliffs. Faint light filtered through cracks above, casting irregular patterns across the walls. Strange carvings etched into the rock caught Elliot's eye, symbols like nothing he had ever seen, twisting and looping in ways that made his head spin. The hatchling tilted its head, gazing at the markings as if recognizing something from a memory it couldn't explain. Elliot knelt beside it, brushing dust from its tiny wings. "What are you?" he whispered. "Where did you come from?" There was no answer, only a quiet hum of energy that made the hairs on his arms stand on end. The hatchling shivered, and Elliot realized its reaction wasn't fear this time, it was anticipation. A sudden noise shattered the tense silence. From deep within the tunnel, a metallic clatter echoed. Elliot's pulse quickened. The drones hadn't given up, they were searching, methodical, relentless. One of them must have discovered the cave, he thought. He could hear their sensors sweeping, the faint whine of their engines growing louder. Elliot's mind raced. They were trapped, at least until the drones moved on. But the hatchling stirred in his arms, wings flickering, and for the first time, Elliot noticed something incredible. Sparks of light arced from its tiny body, faint at first, then brighter, illuminating the chamber. The symbols on the wall glowed in response, pulsing in rhythm with the creature's heartbeat. Elliot's eyes widened. Whatever this hatchling was, it could affect more than just the air around it, it could interact with the world itself. He swallowed hard, a mix of awe and fear coursing through him. "You're not just a baby animal," he murmured. "You're something else." The hatchling blinked slowly, and in that moment, Elliot felt a surge of connection. He had no idea how, but the creature seemed to trust him completely, responding to his thoughts, his emotions, even his fears. A sudden vibration shook the chamber. The drones had found another way in. Elliot felt the ground tremble beneath his hands, tiny rocks tumbling from the ceiling. The hatchling stiffened, wings flicking nervously. Elliot's stomach twisted. He had to act, and fast. He scanned the chamber quickly. A narrow crevice led upward, another possible exit, but it was steep, treacherous, and barely wide enough for both of them. Elliot's jaw tightened. "We can do this," he said softly, more to himself than the hatchling. "We'll get through this." He lifted it carefully, tucking its wings close to avoid scraping them against the walls, and began climbing. Halfway up, a sharp clang echoed through the tunnel. One of the drones had found the chamber entrance. Elliot froze, heart pounding. The hatchling's glow flared brightly, and for a moment the light blinded him. When he looked up, he realized with shock that the energy from the creature was interfering with the drone sensors. Sparks arced across the walls, short-circuiting the closest drone. It tumbled back with a hiss of overheating circuits. Elliot's breath caught. This tiny creature, fragile and terrified a few hours ago, could actually fight back in ways he didn't understand. He felt a surge of hope. Maybe they had a chance. But he couldn't rely on instinct alone. He had to guide it, protect it, think like a human, act with strategy. He moved quickly, using the flickering shadows and uneven rocks to his advantage, leading the hatchling through a series of narrow twists that the drones couldn't follow easily. Each movement required precision, balance, and timing. One misstep and they could fall, or worse, be discovered. But the hatchling adjusted instinctively, flapping its small wings to maintain balance, wings brushing against Elliot's face as they went. When they finally emerged from the crevice into a larger cavern, Elliot allowed himself a brief moment to breathe. The hatchling nuzzled him, smoke curling faintly from its back. Elliot smiled, a small payoff for their struggle so far. "You did it," he whispered. "We did it." But the celebration was short-lived. From the shadows of the cavern, Elliot saw them, larger, more menacing shapes moving in the distance. Alien ships, unlike the drones, sleek and black, hovering silently above the cliffs outside. Their presence was deliberate, a clear sign that the hunt was far from over. The hatchling stirred nervously in his arms, wings flicking rapidly. Elliot felt the tension coil tighter in his chest. Whatever these creatures were, they were organized, intelligent, and determined. And Elliot realized with a sinking feeling that the hatchling's survival might not just depend on speed or hiding, it might depend on something else. Something he couldn't yet control. He looked down at the glowing creature, its amber eyes fixed on him. In that moment, Elliot understood something crucial. The hatchling wasn't just a burden to protect. It was a partner, a being capable of incredible power. Together they had a chance. Alone they would not survive. A sudden rumble shook the cavern and Elliot staggered. The hatchling's glow flared violently, illuminating the walls with strange, shimmering patterns. The air crackled with energy. Elliot's heart pounded as he realized the hatchling was reacting to the alien ships outside, sensing their presence before he even saw them. He swallowed hard, gripping the hatchling tightly. "We need to keep moving," he whispered. "We can't stay here." But as he looked toward the only visible exit, the cavern seemed to stretch endlessly into darkness. And then, from deep within the shadows, a low, resonant roar echoed, a sound that was neither drone nor ship, but something alive, something immense. The hatchling stiffened, letting out a sharp, urgent cry in response. Elliot's stomach dropped. Whatever was out there, it had heard them. And it was coming. Elliot stumbled into the cavern, every nerve on fire. The hatchling pressed against his chest, wings flaring nervously, smoke curling faintly from its back. The low roar echoed again, vibrating the walls and making the floor tremble beneath his feet. Elliot's mind raced. Whatever was coming, it wasn't just the drones or alien ships. They were dealing with something far bigger now, something alive and dangerous. He ducked behind a jagged outcrop as shadows swept across the cavern's entrance. The glowing hatchling shifted in his arms, sensing the threat before he could. Sparks of light flared along its wings, illuminating the rough stone around them. Elliot's eyes widened. It was as if the creature could manipulate the energy in the air, bending light and electricity to its will. He felt a surge of hope. Maybe they weren't defenseless after all. A sudden crash outside shook the cavern. Rocks tumbled from the ceiling as something massive moved over the cliff. Elliot pressed the hatchling tighter to his chest, his fingers digging into its wings, careful not to hurt it. The roar grew louder, closer, more intense. His heart pounded as adrenaline surged. He realized with a jolt that this wasn't just a chase. They were about to face a direct attack. Elliot's mind raced, scanning the cavern for options. The ceiling was too low to climb, the walls too jagged to scale quickly. The only way forward was through a narrow tunnel leading upward, just big enough for him and the hatchling. But moving too quickly could alert whatever was outside or worse cause a collapse. He swallowed hard. Courage wasn't enough, he needed cleverness, speed, and timing. He whispered softly to the hatchling, "We'll get through this. Stick with me." The creature responded with a small, fiery hiss, wings flickering. Elliot felt a strange surge of connection, a silent communication. The hatchling wasn't just scared, it was ready to fight, ready to trust him. They began moving, squeezing through the tunnel. Each step was a test. Loose stones and narrow ledges threatened to throw them off balance. Sparks from the hatchling's wings lit the way, revealing jagged rocks and sudden drops. Elliot held his breath with every step, sweat stinging his eyes. Suddenly, a shadow fell over the tunnel entrance. One of the alien ships had descended closer, hovering just outside the cavern mouth. A beam of light swept across the stone, seeking them out. Elliot froze, heart hammering. The hatchling's glow flared violently in response, and the beam faltered, scattering across the cavern walls. Elliot realized it wasn't just light, it reacted to the hatchling's energy, bending and breaking around it. He felt a thrill of awe mixed with fear. This tiny creature, barely the size of his arm, could influence the alien tech. He gritted his teeth, gripping it tighter. "We can do this," he whispered. "We have to." The tunnel opened into a wider ledge overlooking the cliffs. Elliot's stomach dropped. Below, the drones regrouped, moving in a coordinated pattern. The alien ships hovered above, scanning, calculating. It was an impossible situation. Too many enemies, too little space, too little time. But Elliot refused to give up. He lowered himself to the edge of the ledge, placing the hatchling carefully on the stone. The creature looked up at him, wings fluttering nervously. Elliot met its gaze, heart pounding. "Okay," he said, "we fight smart. Together." The hatchling leapt, flapping its wings, and Elliot followed instinctively. They dropped to a lower ledge, using the shadows to their advantage. Sparks arced from the hatchling's wings, hitting nearby rocks and creating small, blinding flashes. The drones reacted instantly, faltering in their formations. Elliot took advantage, rolling behind a boulder, pulling the hatchling with him. Every move had to be precise. One mistake and they were finished. Suddenly, one of the drones fired a pulse directly at the hatchling. Elliot shouted, throwing a rock to deflect the beam. The hatchling reacted immediately, releasing a burst of energy that short-circuited the drone. Elliot's eyes widened. This tiny creature, terrified and small moments ago, was fighting back in a way he could barely comprehend. The alien ships reacted, firing energy beams at the cliffs. Elliot pressed himself flat, shielding the hatchling, but a beam struck nearby rocks, sending debris crashing down. He rolled instinctively, the hatchling clutched to his chest, smoke curling up into the night sky. The glow from the creature's wings intensified, brighter than ever. It was responding to the danger, reacting faster than Elliot could command. Then it happened. The hatchling's wings flared fully, the glow exploding outward. The energy rippled across the cliffs, bending light, throwing shadows, and creating a dazzling aurora in the sky. Elliot felt it in his chest, a rush of warmth and power. He realized in awe that together they could change the battlefield. The aliens had underestimated them. Humans had always adapted, but now Elliot and the hatchling were more than adaptation. They were a force. Elliot grabbed the creature firmly, leaping to a higher ledge as one of the alien ships fired directly at him. The hatchling reacted instinctively, wings flaring, energy striking the beam, deflecting it into the rocks below. Sparks and debris rained down, blinding the drones temporarily. Elliot's heart raced. They had turned the tables, even if only slightly. He paused, breathing hard, the hatchling nuzzling against his neck. He felt a surge of pride and fear. They had survived, for now, against impossible odds. But the aliens were still out there, waiting, calculating, and stronger forces were surely coming. Elliot looked up at the sky. The aurora shimmered across the horizon, strange and beautiful, almost like it was writing their story in the heavens. The hatchling let out a sharp, urgent cry, wings flaring. Elliot understood immediately. This was only the beginning. The fight was far from over. And from the shadows beyond the cliffs, a new silhouette emerged, larger, darker, and moving with intent. Elliot's stomach dropped as a realization hit him. The hunt had only just begun. He tightened his grip on the hatchling. "We're not done," he whispered. "Not even close." The roar came again, louder this time, echoing across the cliffs. The sky pulsed in response, and the hatchling's wings glowed brighter than ever. Elliot swallowed hard. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. And then, from deep within the cliffs, a shadow detached itself from the darkness, something alive, enormous, and moving with terrifying speed. Elliot's eyes widened. They weren't alone. Elliot stood at the edge of the cliff, the hatchling clutched tightly to his chest, smoke curling faintly from its wings. The aurora of energy in the sky above still pulsed, painting the night in impossible colors, casting long shadows over the jagged rocks. Below, the drones had scattered, their formations broken. The alien ships hovered at a distance, their lights blinking cautiously, unsure of what the hatchling's sudden power could do. For the first time, Elliot allowed himself to breathe. But there was no time to rest. The hatchling shivered in his arms, its glowing eyes locking on him with quiet intelligence. Elliot realized something profound. This creature trusted him completely, and in return he could guide its abilities. They were partners now, and together they had a chance to turn fear into strength. Elliot carefully lowered the hatchling to the ground. Its wings spread slightly and sparks of light danced along the tips. He crouched beside it, whispering, "We've made it this far. We can do more." He could feel the creature responding, the glow pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He knew instinctively that the hatchling's abilities weren't random. They were connected to emotion, to courage, to determination. A low hum began beneath the cliffs. Elliot's stomach twisted. The alien ships had not retreated, they were regrouping. But something else had arrived. From the shadowed edges of the cliff, a massive shape emerged, moving with slow, deliberate power. Its scales glinted faintly, catching the aurora's light, and its eyes, enormous and glowing like twin suns, fixed on the hatchling. Elliot's breath caught in his throat. The hatchling raised its head, wings fluttering nervously. Elliot's grip tightened instinctively. "Stay calm," he whispered. "We can do this." He felt a surge of determination unlike anything before. The odds were impossible, but he would not let fear decide their fate. The massive creature moved closer, the ground trembling beneath its weight. Elliot could hear its breath, a low, resonant growl that vibrated through the cliffs. Yet the hatchling did not cry or retreat. It stood its ground, wings flaring slightly. Elliot realized with awe that it was calling to its kin, or perhaps recognizing them. The alien ships reacted, beams of energy slicing toward the massive shape. Sparks of light arced along its scales, but it did not falter. Elliot felt a mix of fear and wonder. Somehow the hatchling had summoned this guardian, or ally, from the shadows. Humans were small, fragile, yet capable of incredible bonds. This was the essence of courage, of determination. This was HFY. Elliot glanced at the hatchling. Its glow intensified, brighter than before, illuminating their faces. Sparks of energy flared outward, meeting the alien beams. One ship faltered, its sensors fried by the pulse. Another retreated, unsure of how to respond. The hatchling let out a high, urgent cry, and Elliot understood. They were not just defending themselves, they were shaping the battlefield. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, the massive creature following the hatchling's lead. Elliot's voice was steady, though his heart raced. "We fight together," he said, more to himself than to anyone else. "We won't back down." His words seemed to resonate, the hatchling glowing brighter in response. The battle was short but intense. The hatchling and the guardian moved with a rhythm Elliot could barely follow, sparks and energy arcs colliding with alien technology. Elliot guided the creature where he could, using instinct and quick thinking to predict the ship's movements. One miscalculation and it could all end here. But they adapted, each step a small victory, each burst of energy a reminder of what humans could do when courage and intelligence met impossible odds. Finally, the alien ships began to retreat, their formations broken and engines smoking. Elliot stumbled back, chest heaving, the hatchling nuzzling him in quiet triumph. The aurora above pulsed one last time, marking the sky with their struggle, their bond, their courage. The villagers below would see this glow as legend, but Elliot knew the truth. It was human determination, bravery, and empathy that had made this possible. He looked at the hatchling, eyes meeting its glowing amber gaze. "We did it," he whispered softly. "We survived, and we changed things." The creature chirped softly, a sound of trust, of recognition, of something more profound than fear or instinct. Elliot felt a warmth in his chest, a mixture of relief, pride, and awe. He had protected it. He had guided it. And together they had faced impossible odds and won. But even in victory, Elliot sensed the broader mystery waiting. From the distant horizon, a faint shimmer in the stars hinted at other watchers, other threats, other challenges. The hatchling's glow flared once more, reacting to the unseen presence. Elliot understood that their journey was far from over. The galaxy was larger, stranger, and more dangerous than he had imagined. He took a deep breath, holding the hatchling close. "We'll face them," he whispered. "Together." His voice was calm yet resolute. In that moment, Elliot felt the full weight of what humans could do. Courage, intelligence, empathy, and unyielding determination could stand against the vast, unknown universe. He was small, fragile, human. And yet he was extraordinary. As dawn began to touch the horizon, the sky shimmered once more. For a brief moment, it seemed to spell out a name in the light, Elliot. The hatchling chirped, flapped its wings and rose slightly, smoke curling into the pale morning. Elliot smiled, understanding that their bond had left a mark on the world itself, a testament to human courage in the face of overwhelming odds. And yet, from the distant edge of space, faint silhouettes watched silently. They had noticed the boy. They had noticed the hatchling. The hunt was not over. Elliot tightened his grip on the creature, eyes scanning the horizon. The sky was vast, the universe full of mysteries, but he was ready. Whatever came next, humans would face it. And they would endure. For the boy and the hatchling, the dawn was just the beginning.